Morning students. I'm Purnima and I'm going to children revise the poem Keeping Quiet, and it is written by the poet Pablo Neruda. So the name of the poet is Pablo Neruda. Now children, in this poem, the poet demands the necessity of quiet introspection. That means in this busy life we are all running here and there, we are too busy. We don't have time to children see anybody, and we are continuously in touch with technical devices, as well as we are having a lot of work pressure. So children, it is here the writer is advising that we should he demands the necessity of quiet introspection. He is telling man action is just simply rush and hurry and have already caused much chaos and trouble in the world. So now it is time when we should take a pause. We should do self-introspection. Stillness does not mean total inactivity. So stillness does not mean total inactivity. Stillness and silence will help men in creating a feeling of mutual understanding among human beings. Now children, now it is the time when we should take pause, we should take rest, we should do our self introspection. Stillness does not mean total inactivity. Stillness and silence will help man to create a feeling of mutual understanding among human beings. But it doesn't mean that we will be keeping quiet for a longer time, only for a few minutes he is telling, and a few seconds. We should not think anything, we should not talk, we should not have any thoughts in our mind, and for a few seconds we should be still. That means we should not think anything, we should not talk anything, we should not do any activity, and then we will self-introspect us. Now children, I will be telling you the background. Now the poet is advising us to keep quiet for a few seconds, not even for a minute. The poet wants us to be still till he counts 12. So he is counting 12. Let us not talk in any language on this earth. He asks us to stop moving our arm so much for 1 second. An exotic moment. Let there be no rush or hurry for a second. He is telling you we should not rush, we should not hurry, we should not think, we should not do any activity. Engines and other machine must come to a halt for a moment. So engines and machine, all the things should come for a halt for a moment. That means whatever machine we are operating, that also must be stopped. Even if we are doing some work in the computer, that must also be paused. Okay, so that moment will be a fascinating moment for all of us. Okay, so children, that moment will be a fascinating moment for all of us. Okay, so that moment will be a very fascinating moment for all of us. All of us shall enjoy the sudden strangeness of the moment together. And children, all of us children, in fact everybody, if you are in the institution, just take a break for a few seconds. Okay, nobody will think, nobody will talk, nobody will do any activity, and you will see that would be the most wonderful moment for all of us. So if we ask to stop moving our arms also for 1 second. Okay, and he is telling we should not talk, we should not talk at all at any language we are talking, learning, and we should stop moving even arms. We should not move our fingers, arms, everything should be stopped moving, and we should be taking for 1 minute. An exotic moment, that would be the most exotic moment will be in Let there will be no rush or hurry for a second. For a second, we should not rush or hurry. Engines and other machines must come to a halt for a moment. Engine and machine must come to a halt for a moment. That moment will be a fascinating moment for all of us. All of us shall enjoy the sudden strangeness of the moment together. That moment, so children, we should all enjoy the sudden strangeness of the moment together. No harm to anyone. The poet wants that the fisherman would not harm the whales in the cold sea of the polar region. Even the man gathering salt with his own hand must take care of his hard hand. The poet warned that the fisherman would not harm the whales in the cold sea of the polar region. Even the man gathering salt with his own hands must take care of his hard hand. No wars of any kind. All kinds of war should be stopped at once. The green war against the environment, war with poisonous gases, and the use of firearms must be stopped just now. All children, or everything the poet is telling to stop. Like children, all kinds of war should be stopped at once. The green war against the environment, war with poisonous gases, and the use of firearm must be stopped just now. In such wars, the victory is meaningless and no survivors are left after the war. So children, war with he is telling it is meaningless, where not even no survivor, no people are left. Everybody, mostly everybody is dead in the war. So what is the use of that war? Okay, winning and losing is another thing, but defeating and winning is another thing, but losing the life is not good, he is telling. In such war, the victory is meaningless as no survivors are left after the war. And children, nowadays, so many people are killed. So what is the use of the victory when people will not be able to see the people who had fighted for the war? And if they are dead, what is the use of that victory, the writer is telling. Instead of fighting and waging war, they should come out in their best dresses. So he's telling, instead of fighting the war, the people should wear their best dresses. They must go out for a walk with their brother under the shady tree, and they should walk together under a shady tree. They must enjoy doing something. So children, this is the idea given by the poet Pablo Neruda. Now, stillness, not total inactivity. Now, people is asking that is it, do you mean that he want that they should be total inactive for a minute? So he is telling, the poet doesn't want that we should confuse stillness with total inactivity. That would amount to death. The poet has no association with death. We should not be always on the move. For a while we should also take the rest. A long silence can do us a lot of good. Man becomes sad when they fail to understand themselves. They feel helpless when they threaten themselves with death. A long silence can soothe our feelings and help us in removing this sadness. So children, they feel helpless when they threaten themselves with death. A long silence can soothe our feelings and help us in removing this sadness. Earth remain alive. Again, the poet reminds us that stillness doesn't mean total inactivity. We can learn a lesson from the earth. When everything seems dead, the earth remains alive. So children, when we feel that everything is dead, we can see the earth remain alive. The poet asks us to keep quiet till he counts 12. So the poet, he tells us to keep quiet, and children, till when he has to be quiet, he has to count 12. Okay. So children, this was the background of the poet. In a nutshell, the poet wants that we all human beings should take a break only for 1 second, and in that break we should not think, we should not do any work, we should not even move our box, and then see the changes. In that way we can introspect ourselves. The main points. The poet urges children, here I am reading once again the main points of the poem. The poet urges us to count 12 and be still. Now he is telling, the poet really wanted us that we should count 12 and be still. For a moment we should stop talking in different language. We should not talk in different language. We should not move our arms also to it. Okay. Even our arms like this, like this. We should stand, not talking, not moving our arms, not even thinking something. The moment of stillness will be a fascinating moment. So that moment we will be fascinating, we will be refreshed back, we will be looking more fresh children. It will be a moment of complete silence without rush and the noise of machine. And children, that moment will be a complete silence without rush, without noise of any machine, without doing work on computer, without operating any device, cell phone, washing machine, nothing. We should not touch something, we should not think of them. Fisherman will not harm waves in the whole sea. The man gathering salt will take care of his hard hands. Those who are indulging in different kinds of war should be still for some time. Let them come out in their best dresses with their brothers and walk under the shady tree. But stillness should not be confused with total inactivity and death. The poet has no association with death. Constant moving doesn't do us any good. Man can't understand themselves and keep on threatening themselves with death. If they keep quiet and be still, a long silence can do a lot of good to them. The earth is a symbol of life under apparent stillness. While everything seems dead, life on the earth goes on under apparent stillness. So children, life is a symbol, the earth is a symbol of life under apparent stillness. When everything seems dead, life on the earth goes on under apparent stillness. Okay, so this is the situation. He has given us the example of earth, that like earth we also keep on moving, we also keep on thinking. Okay, but we should stop for a second. So children, now I am going to explain the poem. Now we will count to 12 and we will all keep still. For once on the face of the earth, let's not speak in any language. Let's stop for 1 second and not move our arm so much. So he is telling, let us count 12 now and we will be silent. Okay, we will count till 12 and we all will silent and we will be motionless. For at least once we should not speak in any language on the surface of the earth. Let us stop for a second and don't move our arm so much. And he is telling, children, we have to be stop for a second and we should not move our arm so much. Now children, some of the difficult words which I am going to explain to you. First is count. Count means children, you have to count, you have to say numbers. You have to count and you have to say numbers. Okay. Children, then he is telling 12. Why children he has given 12? Because 12 signs of hours on the clock. Okay, because there are 12 signs of hours are there in the clock. That's why he must have taken 12. Still is quiet, okay, and motionless. Face is surface. And then children, few of the words are there, like say words means count. Once again I am repeating. Motionless is still and face is the surface. So children, why does the poet ask us to count 12? Because poet asks us to count 12 because children, there are 12 hours. There are 12-hour signs on the clock to measure hours. Therefore, he asks us to count till the clock measure these hours. Too much, children, he asks us to be still for few seconds, and he is telling too much rush and activity has only brought misfortune to mankind. Yet it is better to be quiet and still. Now, children, let us not speak in any language, says Neruda. Why he is telling, instead of telling let us not speak, he has written the word let us not speak in any language. So the people of the world need excuse to fight among themselves. Let them keep quiet and not speak in any language. They may not indulge in reasoning, disputes and quarrels among themselves. Now, children, again, so his advice is what we should not do for a second. So we should give up, cease all our activities. We should not even move our arm. Man has used arm only to kill and destroy others. Therefore, let them not move their arm so much as to harm others. So, children, this was the meaning which I have discussed in the first paragraph. In the second paragraph, it would be an exotic moment without rush, without engines. We would all be together. It is a sudden strangeness. Exotic is unusual and enticing. Okay, so let's children read what is the meaning of exotic, unusual. So now the second stranger. Second stanza is it would be an exotic moment without rush, without engines, as we would all be together in a sudden strangeness. So it will be an so exotic means children unusual and or enticing, enticing moment, a short period of a time. Rush is hurry, engines is machines, sudden is at once, strangeness is unusual. So it will be an enticing and attractive moment. There will be no hurry, there will be no sound of machine. It will be a sudden, unfamiliar and unusual moment that we will all enjoy together. So children, what kind of moment will be? It will be a very enticing and beautiful moment. Okay. So children, it will be very enticing and beautiful moment if we will be stopped for a few minutes. There will be peace around if there is no rush or the sound of machines and engine. Children, all of us will enjoy the sudden strangeness and unusualness of that moment. And children, enticing means, once again I tell you, charming, okay, or machine here means engines and computers and all that. At once means sudden. Now children, the third stanza. Fishermen in the cold sea would not harm whales, and the man gathering salt would look at his hard hand. So fishermen catching fish. So fishermen, children, I think everybody know what is the meaning of fishermen. Those children who are there who children go to a sea or fish, and their occupation is to catch fish. Cold sea. Sea near the poles. So children, I was explaining you about the third paragraph. Fishermen in the cold sea. Fishermen in the cold sea would not harm whales, and the man gathering salt would look at his hard hand. So I was telling you the meaning of fishermen. Who are the fishermen who go and catch fish either in the river or a sea or a pond. Cold sea, children. Cold sea are those seas which is near the two poles, the North Pole and the South Pole. Harm means to hurt someone. Whale is the biggest fish. Whale is the biggest fish. Okay, biggest of all fishes. And then gathering is collecting. Hurt is injured. Paraphrase: fisherman catching fish in the far off cold seas will not harm the whales in the sea. The man who is gathering salt will look at his hard hand and will take care of them. Fisherman catching fish in the far off cold sea will not harm the whale in the sea. The man who is gathering salt will look at his hard hand and will take care of them. So children, when we are hurt, okay, we take care of ourselves. Now I am talking about now the fourth paragraph. Okay, those who prepare green war. Wars with gas, wars with fire, victory with no survivors would put on clean clothes and walk about with their brothers in the shade doing nothing. So, children, the poet gives a piece of advice in the war mongers. They wage wars against, first of all children, so many meanings are there. First of all, what is a green war? So you can write it, children, the war which is against the environment, that is a green war. War with gas is the use of poisonous gas in war. War with fire, use of firearms and napalm bomb that causes harm. Napalm bomb is that bomb, children, when you throw a lot of fire come. Victory is conquest. Survivors mean those who are left alive in the war. In the shade means under the tree. So the poet gives a piece of advice to the warmongers. They wages war against the environment. That means who are children starting war against the humanity. They use poisonous gas in war. They use firearms. All of them must stop the business of killing. So these things should not be used. They are destroying the people, their life, their home, their building, and they are killing. If they kill everyone, no one will survive to see their victory. Now children, the poet is telling, if everybody will be killed in the war, nobody will be there to see the victory of the person who had won in the war. So what is the use of that mankind? What is the use of that victory when nobody will be able to see them? They should cease all harmful action. They should go out for a walk with their brother under the shady tree. Now, name the poem and the children here. The different kinds of wars are mentioned here, like children, green war. Green war is a war with the environment, that means cutting the trees, okay, making our land barren, deforestation, all this. War with poisonous gases. That means children, war with the firearms or different kinds of war which causes destruction. It will be a victory where no survival will be left to celebrate it. No survival will be left to celebrate it. Those who have been preparing for war should put on clean clothes. They should come out with their brothers. They should walk under the tree leisurely, doing nothing. Okay. Now, find words from the. So, students, we were doing in the last paragraph. Perhaps the earth can teach us, as when everything seems dead and later proves to be alive. Now I will count up to 12 and you keep quiet and I will go. So children, he is telling, now I will be telling you some of the important words meaning. Like later means that come after, alive is living, quiet is silent. Okay. So children, here the poet is telling, mankind can learn a lesson from the earth. Life and living never stop on earth. Life and living will never stop on earth. When everything appears to be dead, only one thing remains alive. And what is that? It is the earth, children, itself. Earth never stops. It keeps on moving, moving and moving. Now the poet will count up to 12 and all others will keep quiet during that period. No activity will be done, not even the movements of the body will be there in that period. Then he will go out from there, and then he is advising other to do also the same, so he can see, he can feel the freshness, they can feel the relax in their body and their mind. Okay, so it is earth which is teaching a lesson to mankind how to live on. That means we always have to move, we always have to do our duties, we always have to complete our work. What lives alive when everything seems dead? Then only the earth lives alive when everything else appears to be dead. What does the poet ask while he counts up to 12? So the poet is only wanting, he asks that we have to keep quiet, we have to maintain silence. Only have to count till 12, and for that period you have to maintain silence. So dear children, I have finished the paraphrasing, I finished the explanation part and the telling you the new word meaning. Now some important question and answer we will be doing. So first is very important, it came many times in the board examination also. What will counting up to 12 and keeping still help us achieve? The poet urges us counting up to 12 and keeping still. Perhaps 12 here represent the 12-hour marks on the clock. Most of the ill and troubles of the world are caused because of our rush and hurry. Keeping still will give us the necessary respite for peace. Okay. Now, why does Pablo Neruda urge us to keep still? Almost the same answer, but I will read. Pablo Neruda considered that indecent haste and activities leads humanity towards violence and death. He urges us to keep still, to enjoy few moments of peace, rest and tranquility. What is the meaning of tranquility? Tranquility means peace. TRANQUILLITY. What is the meaning of tranquility? Tranquility means peace. Sometimes keeping still give us the much needed respite. Sometimes children, we are so fed up, we are so uneasy, we feel so restless. So just children, don't do anything for count up to 12, don't move your body and arms, and everything will be right. Why should not we speak in any language but move our arms so much? People of this world indulge in unnecessary debates and disputes. The poet urges them to stop speaking in any language. They should speak through their hearts. Men have moved their arms only to harm others. Therefore, they should not move their arms so much. They should give them the much desired rest. Why should not we speak to any language and move our arms so much? So people of this world indulge in unnecessary debates and disputes. The poet urges them to stop speaking in any language. They should speak through their hearts. Men have moved their arms only to harm others. Therefore, they should move their arms so much they should give them the much desired rest. Okay. So, what does the poet say about different kinds of war? So, the poet has discussed about different kinds of war. The poet wanted total children to give up all kinds of war like green war, war against the environment, war with poisonous gases, and fire must be stopped immediately. Instead of indulging in war, the people must come out in their best dresses with their brothers or sisters or their near and dear ones, and they should go out for a walk, enjoying themselves doing nothing. So, children, these are some of the hints given by the poet. Okay. According to Pablo Neruda, what is it that human being can learn from? According to Pablo Neruda, the main causes of misery and in this world is the impatience and indecent haste of man. Human being can learn a lesson from nature. Nature carries on its mission unnoticed and unseen. Life and living never stops on earth. When everything is dead, one thing remains eternally alive, the earth itself. Human beings must follow nature without indulging in indecent haste, violence, and chaos. According to the poet Pablo Neruda, what important lesson can the earth teach us? So the earth can teach us an important lesson. The earth is never dead. When everything seems to be dead, it remains still alive. Stillness should not be confused with total inactivity. Life goes on as usual. The poet doesn't advocate for total inactivity, idleness, and has no association with death. So now children, the most important question, do you think the poet advocates total inactivity and death? Give a reason answer. Certainly not. The poet does not advocate total inactivity and death. That would mean the end of the world. Stillness should not be misinterpreted as inactivity, idleness, and death. We should follow nature. Mother Nature continues its mission unnoticed and unseen. Life and living never stop on earth. Earth and nature remain eternally alive, but the stillness of nature does not mean inactivity and death. Okay, so children, these are some of the very important question answers, and one more question answer I will be doing. Uh, Life is what it is all about. How is keeping quiet related to life? Life and living continues quite unobserved and unnoticed. Under the apparent stillness, there are strong undertones and currents of life. Neruda doesn't equate stillness with total inactivity. We can learn from the earth. The life on the earth goes on as usual under the apparent stillness. Similarly, keeping quiet is related to life and is still bliss for suffering humanity. So children, these are the things we have done. Okay, so now I stop my video here. Thank you and have a nice day ahead.